The Galactic Empire had never known defeat. For centuries, their fleets had swept across the stars, crushing civilizations beneath the weight of their superior technology and unyielding ambition. They were conquerors, architects of a dominion that spanned galaxies, and they viewed the universe as theirs to claim. When their scouts first detected Earth, a blue-green orb teeming with life but devoid of interstellar capability, they dismissed it as another primitive world ripe for subjugation. The Empire's high command, a council of cold, calculating minds, saw no need for caution. Earth would fall like all the others. They had no idea who they were facing. On Earth, the skies were calm that morning. Dr. Elena Voss stood on the observation deck of the Global Defense Initiative's headquarters, her sharp green eyes scanning the horizon. At 38, Elena was a rarity in the scientific community. A brilliant astrophysicist who had transitioned into military strategy after the Unification Wars. Her dark hair, streaked with silver, was pulled into a tight braid, and her posture exuded the confidence of someone who had spent years making hard decisions. Behind her, the hum of activity in the command center was a constant reminder of the fragile peace humanity had fought so hard to achieve. Earth was united now, but the scars of past conflicts still lingered. "Dr. Voss," a voice called from behind her. Elena turned to see Captain Mira Patel approaching, her uniform crisp and her expression serious. Mira was a rising star in the GDI, a tactical genius with a reputation for thinking 3 steps ahead of her opponents. At 29, she was young for her rank, but her achievements spoke for themselves. "The latest scans from the orbital array are in. There's something out there." Elena's brow furrowed as she took the tablet Mira offered. The data was troubling. A series of unidentified objects moving at speeds far beyond anything humanity had ever achieved. "This can't be right," she murmured, her mind racing. "If these readings are accurate, they'll be here within hours." Mira nodded grimly. "We've already alerted the council, but they're skeptical. They think it's a glitch in the system." "It's not a glitch," Elena said, her voice firm. "We need to prepare for the worst." As the hours passed, the tension in the command center grew palpable. Reports began flooding in from around the globe. Strange lights in the sky, unexplained energy surges, and a growing sense of unease. Elena and Mira worked tirelessly, coordinating with military leaders and scientists to devise a plan. But time was running out. When the Empire's ships finally appeared, they were a sight to behold. Massive, sleek vessels descended from the heavens, their hulls gleaming like polished obsidian. The skies above Earth's major cities darkened as the fleet took position, their weapons trained on the planet below. The Empire's message was broadcast in every language, their voices cold and devoid of empathy. "People of Earth," they declared, "your world now belongs to the Galactic Empire. Resistance is futile. Surrender, and you may yet serve us." The first strikes were swift and merciless. New York, Tokyo, Moscow, cities that had stood as symbols of human achievement, were reduced to smoldering ruins in a matter of minutes. The Empire's weapons were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, their energy beams slicing through steel and concrete as if they were paper. Panic spread like wildfire, but amidst the chaos, a spark of defiance began to grow. Elena and Mira found themselves at the heart of the resistance. From the GDI's underground bunker, they coordinated what little defense they could muster. "We can't fight them head-on," Elena said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. "Their technology is too advanced. We need to outthink them." Mira nodded, her mind already racing through possibilities. "Their ships are powerful, but they're not invincible. If we can find a weakness, we might stand a chance." As the hours turned into days, the two women worked tirelessly, analyzing every scrap of data they could gather. They discovered that the Empire's shields were vulnerable to certain frequencies of electromagnetic radiation, a flaw that could be exploited if they could get close enough. But the cost of such a mission would be high. The turning point came during a desperate battle in the skies above Geneva. A squadron of Earth's fighter pilots, led by Lieutenant Aisha Rahman, managed to breach the Empire's defenses using a prototype weapon designed by Elena. The weapon, a high-frequency EMP pulse, disrupted the shields of one of the Empire's cruisers, allowing Aisha's team to deliver a crippling blow. The cruiser plummeted from the sky, its wreckage crashing into the Alps in a fiery explosion. The victory was small but significant. For the first time, the Empire's forces faltered, their confidence shaken. Elena watched the footage of the battle with a mixture of pride and sorrow. Aisha had been one of her brightest students, a young woman with a fierce determination to protect her home. Her sacrifice would not be in vain. As the sun set on a battered but unbroken Earth, Elena stood once more on the observation deck, her eyes fixed on the stars. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and they had paid the price. But this was only the beginning. The war was far from over, and the stakes had never been higher. Behind her, Mira approached, her expression resolute. "We've bought ourselves some time," she said. "But they'll be back. And next time, they won't hold back." Elena nodded, her mind already racing with plans and strategies. "Then we'll be ready," she said. "They think we're weak. They think we're afraid. But they have no idea who they're facing." The stars above seemed to shimmer in agreement, their light a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the indomitable spirit of those who called Earth home. The battle had been won, but the war was just beginning, and humanity would not go quietly into the night. The Empire's retreat was not a victory, it was a reprieve. The skies above Earth, once filled with the ominous hum of alien warships, were eerily silent, but the scars of the invasion were everywhere. Cities lay in ruins, their skeletal remains jutting into the sky like broken teeth. The air was thick with the acrid scent of smoke and the faint, metallic tang of ionized energy. Humanity had survived the first wave, but the cost had been staggering. And yet, amidst the devastation, a spark of defiance burned brighter than ever. Dr. Elena Voss stood in the heart of the Global Defense Initiative's command center, her fingers flying across a holographic interface. The room buzzed with activity, technicians and soldiers moving with a sense of urgency that bordered on desperation. The data from the Empire's downed cruiser had been a treasure trove of information, but decoding it was a race against time. Elena's eyes were bloodshot from hours of relentless work, but her focus never wavered. She knew the Empire would return, and when they did, Earth had to be ready. "We've got something," Captain Mira Patel said, striding into the room with a tablet in hand. Her usually immaculate uniform was rumpled, and there was a smudge of ash on her cheek, but her voice was steady. "The Empire's communication logs from the cruiser, they're using a quantum encryption protocol, but we've managed to crack part of it." Elena turned, her heart quickening. "What does it say?" Mira handed her the tablet, her expression grim. "They're calling for reinforcements. A second fleet bigger than the first. They're not giving up on Earth." Elena's jaw tightened as she scanned the data. The Empire's arrogance had been their undoing in the first battle, but they were quick learners. The next attack would be more calculated, more brutal. "We need to hit them before they can regroup," she said, her mind already racing through possibilities. "If we can take out their command ship, we might be able to disrupt their entire operation." Mira nodded, her dark eyes narrowing in thought. "It's a long shot, but it's our best chance. The problem is getting close enough. Their shields are still a major obstacle." "Not if we use their own technology against them," Elena said, a flicker of determination in her eyes. She gestured to the holographic display, where a schematic of the Empire's cruiser was projected. "Their shields are designed to block external attacks, but if we can get inside their frequency range, we can create a feedback loop. It's risky, but it could work." The plan was audacious, bordering on suicidal, but it was all they had. Over the next 48 hours, Elena and Mira worked tirelessly, assembling a team of the best pilots, engineers, and soldiers Earth had to offer. Among them was Lieutenant Aisha Rahman's younger sister, Zara, a fiery and brilliant engineer who had inherited her siblings' courage and determination. Zara had been working on a prototype stealth shuttle, a vessel designed to evade detection by masking its energy signature. It was untested, but it was their only hope of getting close to the Empire's command ship. As the team prepared for the mission, Elena found herself grappling with the weight of her decisions. She had always been a woman of science, driven by logic and reason, but the stakes were higher now. Every choice she made could mean the difference between survival and annihilation. Late one night, as she reviewed the mission parameters for the 100th time, Mira found her in the command center, staring at a holographic map of the solar system. "You can't carry this all on your own," Mira said, her voice soft but firm. "We're in this together." Elena sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I know, but if this fails, if we don't make it back, then we'll go down fighting," Mira interrupted, her tone leaving no room for doubt. "But we're not going to fail, not while there's still a chance." The day of the mission dawned with a sense of grim determination. The stealth shuttle, christened Shadow's Edge, was loaded with the EMP device and a team of 6 volunteers, including Zara and Mira. Elena stayed behind to coordinate from the command center, her heart heavy with the knowledge that she was sending her closest friends into the jaws of death. As the shuttle launched, she watched its progress on the holographic display, her hands clenched into fists. The journey to the Empire's fleet was fraught with tension. The Shadow's Edge slipped through the void like a ghost, its stealth systems holding firm against the Empire's scanners. But as they approached the command ship, a massive vessel bristling with weapons and surrounded by a swarm of smaller fighters, the reality of their mission set in. The odds were impossibly stacked against them. "We're in position," Myra's voice crackled over the comms, her tone calm despite the chaos around them. "Initiating the EMP sequence." The next few minutes were a blur of action and terror. The Shadow's Edge darted through a hail of enemy fire, its hull shuddering under the strain. Zara worked furiously at the controls, her hands steady despite the sweat dripping down her face. "Almost there," she muttered, her voice barely audible over the alarms blaring in the cockpit. When the EMP device finally activated, the effect was instantaneous. A pulse of energy rippled through the command ship, overloading its systems and sending it spiraling out of control. The surrounding fighters, caught in the blast radius, were disabled, their lights flickering and dying. The Shadow's Edge wasn't spared. Its systems shorted out, leaving it adrift in the void. Back on Earth, Elena watched the data stream in, her heart pounding. The mission had succeeded, but at a terrible cost. The Empire's fleet was in disarray, their command ship crippled, but the Shadow's Edge was silent. For hours, there was no word from Mira or Zara, no sign that they had survived. And then, just as hope began to fade, a faint signal appeared on the scanners. The Shadow's Edge was limping back to Earth, its hull battered but intact. Elena's breath caught in her throat as she listened to Myra's voice over the comms, weak but alive. "We did it," Mira said, her words barely audible. "They're retreating." The relief that washed over Elena was overwhelming, but it was tempered by the knowledge that the war was far from over. The Empire had been dealt a blow, but they were not defeated. As the Shadow's Edge touched down on Earth's surface, its crew emerging to cheers and tears, Elena allowed herself a moment of quiet pride. They had faced the impossible and emerged victorious, for now. But the stars above were a reminder that the battle for Earth's survival was just beginning. The Empire would return, stronger and more determined than ever. And when they did, humanity would be ready. The Empire's retreat was a fragile victory, a fleeting moment of respite in a war that had only just begun. Earth's skies, once again clear of alien warships, were a deceptive calm. The scars of battle remained etched across the planet's surface, a grim reminder of the cost of survival. Dr. Elena Voss stood in the command center, her gaze fixed on the holographic display that showed the remnants of the Empire's fleet withdrawing to the edges of the solar system. The data streaming in confirmed their retreat, but Elena knew better than to trust appearances. The Empire was not done with Earth. "They'll be back," Captain Mira Patel said, her voice cutting through the silence. She stood beside Elena, her arms crossed and her expression grim. The mission aboard the Shadow's Edge had left her with a fresh scar running along her temple, a testament to the narrow margin of their survival. "And next time, they won't underestimate us." Elena nodded, her mind already racing through the implications. The EMP strike had bought them time, but it was a temporary solution. The Empire's technology was still vastly superior, and their resources seemed limitless. Humanity had proven its resilience, but resilience alone would not win the war. "We need to think bigger," she said, her voice low but firm. "We can't keep playing defense. If we want to survive, we need to take the fight to them." Mira raised an eyebrow, a flicker of curiosity breaking through her stoic demeanor. "You're talking about an offensive strike? Against the Empire?" "Not just a strike," Elena replied, her eyes narrowing as she turned to face Mira. "A counteroffensive. We hit them where it hurts, their supply lines, their communication hubs, their command structure. We make them realize that Earth isn't just another planet to conquer. We make them regret ever coming here." The plan was audacious, bordering on reckless, but it was the only path forward. Over the next several weeks, Elena and Mira worked tirelessly to rally Earth's remaining forces and prepare for the next phase of the war. The Global Defense Initiative, once a fractured coalition of nations, had become a unified front, its leaders galvanized by the threat of annihilation. Resources were pooled, technologies shared, and alliances forged in the fires of desperation. Among the new recruits was Zara Rahman, whose brilliance as an engineer had only grown sharper in the wake of her sister's sacrifice. Zara had taken Aisha's death hard, but she channeled her grief into a relentless drive to protect what remained of her world. She became the driving force behind Project Eclipse, a top-secret initiative to develop a weapon capable of striking at the heart of the Empire's fleet. The project was shrouded in secrecy, its details known only to a handful of individuals, but its potential was immense. As the days turned into weeks, the tension in the command center grew palpable. Reports from Deep Space Scouts confirmed that the Empire was regrouping, their fleet growing larger and more formidable by the day. The clock was ticking, and every second counted. Elena spent long hours poring over schematics and strategy maps, her mind consumed by the enormity of the task ahead. Mira, meanwhile, focused on training the soldiers who would carry out the mission, drilling them relentlessly until they moved as a single, cohesive unit. The day of the counteroffensive arrived with a sense of grim determination. The Eclipse weapon, a sleek and deadly vessel armed with a prototype energy cannon, was ready for deployment. Its crew, a hand-picked team of the best Earth had to offer, stood at attention as Elena addressed them. "This isn't just a mission," she said, her voice steady but filled with conviction. "This is a statement. We're not just fighting for our survival, we're fighting for our future. For every life lost, for every city destroyed, we will make them pay." The Eclipse launched into the void, its sleek hull glinting in the pale light of the sun. The journey to the Empire's staging area was fraught with tension, every moment spent in silence as the crew prepared for the battle ahead. Mira, commanding the mission from the bridge, kept her focus razor-sharp, her mind racing through every possible scenario. Zara, stationed in the engineering bay, monitored the weapons systems with a meticulous attention to detail, her hands steady despite the weight of responsibility. When they reached their destination, the sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The Empire's fleet was a sprawling armada, their ships bristling with weapons and their formations precise. The Eclipse slipped through their defenses like a shadow, its stealth systems holding firm as it approached the command ship at the heart of the fleet. The moment of truth had arrived. "We're in position," Mira said, her voice calm but laced with tension. "Initiating the attack sequence." The Eclipse's energy cannon hummed to life, its power building to a crescendo as it locked onto the command ship. The Empire's sensors detected the threat too late, their shields flaring as the cannon unleashed a devastating blast of energy. The command ship's hull buckled under the force, its systems overloading in a cascade of explosions. The surrounding fleet, thrown into chaos, scrambled to respond, but the Eclipse was already on the move. The battle that followed was a blur of motion and noise, the Eclipse weaving through a storm of enemy fire as it targeted key vessels in the fleet. Myra's commands were sharp and precise, her tactical brilliance on full display as she outmaneuvered the Empire's forces. Zara, working tirelessly in the engineering bay, kept the weapons systems running at peak efficiency, her hands a blur as she made adjustments on the fly. But the Empire was not without its own cunning. A squadron of fighters broke through the Eclipse's defenses, their weapons tearing into the hull and sending sparks flying through the corridors. The ship shuddered under the assault, its systems flickering as alarms blared throughout the vessel. Mira gritted her teeth, her hands gripping the console as she fought to maintain control. "We're taking heavy damage," she said, her voice strained. "We need to pull back." "Not yet," Zara replied, her voice firm despite the chaos. "We're almost there. Just a little longer." The Eclipse's final shot struck true, its energy blast piercing the heart of the Empire's fleet and triggering a chain reaction that sent shockwaves through the armada. The command ship, already crippled, was consumed in a blinding explosion that lit up the void. The surrounding vessels, caught in the blast, were sent spiraling out of control, their formations collapsing into chaos. The Eclipse, battered but victorious, began its retreat as the Empire's fleet fell into disarray. The mission had succeeded, but the cost was high. The ship's hull was riddled with damage, and its crew bore the physical and emotional scars of the battle. As they limped back to Earth, the weight of their victory settled over them, a bittersweet reminder of what they had. As the Eclipse touched down on Earth's surface, its crew emerging to cheers and tears, Elena allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. The battle for Earth's survival was far from over, but they had taken the first step towards securing their future. And when the Empire returned, as they inevitably would, humanity would be ready. They would fight not just for survival but for the right to determine their own destiny. And they would do it together,